Hey, this video comes with a warning. We're going to be breaking ground and excavating. Now, it may not be what you thought, but it does come with a boring alert because today we're talking dirt. It said you never know how much your budget is going to be affected or how much your build is going to cost until you get out of the ground. There's a lot of secrets in there, and you're not going to know them unless you dig them out. So you remember when I said I was going to build this by myself? Now you see me walking around out there with my hat on and a surveyor's rod in my hand, and you see a big machine, an excavator, running itself. Well, no, it's not. Now that was a very calculated decision after doing a little bit of research. Now that guy lives a half a mile away. He has about 20 years more experience on excavator than I do. For me to get a machine that big, I cannot rent one. And with the boulders that we found in the ground, turns out the size of this machine, I needed it. I would have to get a smaller machine from an hour and a half away. It would be a wide load special permit to wind through the mountains to get it delivered, and it would cost $5,000. This guy charged me $700 to excavate this entire site. That's just pragmatic sense, and my wife would say, I don't need any practice spending money.
That's right.
Now paying a guy $700 for 2.5 hours of labor and rental might seem excessive by the hour, but it's not. Now this is one of the biggest mistakes that owner builders make, is they sacrifice, for one, safety, and their inexperience. They think they're going to save money by doing it themselves and not renting the proper equipment. Now, really the proper equipment is what the pros know. Get it done and get it done right. Now, I could have gotten a little small Mini X, and what I would have found is it wouldn't have worked. I could have beaten this site up for at least a week at $200 to $400 a day, plus the delivery fee, whereas this machine got those huge boulders out of the way in 2.5 hours. So I'd have to say, you should always do a little digging around before you start digging. You know, talking about dirt is not the most exciting thing. Matter of fact, it's probably pretty boring to most anybody. Now, but it is a necessity. Now, here is the one time it is very exciting. It's when you are the homeowner and you are breaking ground. That means a positive step towards a goal you've waited and thought about for a long time, and that's why dirt work is exciting. Now, you can't just roll up on a site and start digging. A lot of things have to happen before you start moving dirt, and one of those things is a survey. I have some ancient history working for a surveyor, and also we use surveyors on our big sites all the time. That's a very specialized craft. On this one, I did do it myself, and I had a little advantage. The property next door just sold, so their corners were established by a professional. What I had to do was establish our pins in our corners. Now, you may not know it, but when a development is laid out, rebar pins are left in the ground, and you're not allowed by law to disturb those. Most surveyors will leave the previous one and establish their own, never relying on somebody else's work. In today's high-tech world, we now use GPS and lasers to establish our surveys. If you remember, in the land use office, we were told that the setbacks were very critical. But since I'm setting the corners of this house far beyond the minimum of the setbacks, I was able to do this by myself. But I still highly recommend that you hire a professional surveyor and avoid some of that brain damage and be confident that the work is done right. Even if your land is free of trees, flat like this one, and free of obstacles, I think you'll find that the $400 to $700 that a surveyor is going to cost you is worth it. Now let's talk about some of the equipment that you see here on site. You see me carrying around a surveyor's rod. Now that's just a measurement tool for setting grade. And you can see a tripod out there. Now that is a laser level, and that communicates with the surveyor's rod to establish grade. And what we're doing is we're establishing the depth that the excavator needs to dig out so that we can put our foundations below the frost line. And on this site, the frost line is around 6 feet deep. If you don't pour your foundations below the frost line, when it freezes in the wintertime, the ground will heave and unstabilize your foundation, cracking it and making your house not sound. Now you might be thinking that all these rocks, all these boulders might be a real hassle to deal with. In fact, I see them as a real blessing, because typically you would bring in gravel and fill dirt to establish a great solid foundation to build upon. So the blessing here is we didn't have to pay for all that fill. So you might be asking, how did all this rock, all these boulders, how did they get on this site? Now if you were to look at satellite imaging and look at the geological history of this site, you would see that this valley used to have glaciers in it. So at the beginning of the current climate change, we call it the end of the ice age, as those glaciers start to melt and recede, it established what is now known as the Rio Grande River. And throughout millennium, as that river twisted and turned and reestablished itself, it donated all this fill and all these rocks for landscaping. So it's easy to understand how any homeowner fell in love with a beautiful piece of property and they want to keep it as natural as possible through the process of building. Well, don't get all caught up on that, because really, when you start excavating, it's going to look like a bomb went off. But you know what? You're going to be able to fix that and rectify that later. And you're going to want to wait on that, because you're going to pour your foundation, pour your stem walls, roll your joists, and then deck it in preparation for building your walls. You do not backfill up against your stem walls prior to having the joists in place, or the pressure from the soil can destroy your stem walls and crack them. So after you've backfilled and you've used all that you need, you've got a bunch of these boulders laying around. Now this is what I did. I had 15 truckloads that I needed to haul off. So what I did is I donated them. We're in a miner community, and every year we have this little miners competition. Now these huge boulders are pretty rare and hard to find anymore. So I donated them for the miners competition, and then I donated the rest to reestablish fishing habitat. And of course, I kept some of my favorites and some that were just absolutely too big to move and load up into a truck. I kept those around for landscaping. Now I put off making this video for a very long time because, you know, it really is just about dirt. It didn't seem to be that important. But it is important to stay within the sequence and the order of operation of building this modern cabin. So I hope you can find this to be useful, helpful, and empowering, even encouraging for all those that are wanting to build their own home. Now that's probably all the dirty little secrets that I have to share that you want to know.
Hi, I want to thank you for watching the videos, and I appreciate all the support, and keep those comments coming. Now, if you like what we're doing, please give us a thumbs up, and please consider subscribing. And while you do that, hit that notification bell and you won't miss any of the upcoming videos. Now, we've already gone through the planning phase, and now it's time to execute those plans. Today's video started the next phase, the construction phase. Now, we broke ground. The next videos that are coming up are going to be pouring the foundation and footings, and then also ICF, and I'm going to explain that in detail, insulated concrete forms. I've got a special guest to help me with that. Now, we've also got some special surprises But the SIPS build, when we put this house up with the SIPS panels, that'll be coming up very soon. I want to let you know what's coming up. That way you don't miss any of the videos. See you soon.
So now go build it better.
Better.
Go ahead and click on that subscribe, like, and that little bell.
Get in there. Cue the dog. Come on. Hey, let's go.